Hello everyone, today we'll be looking at Studio Series Thrust from the 2019 Bumblebee movie, and I've got to say, he's one of my favorite seekers of all time. This figure is basically everything I could have hoped for in a Cybertronian style seeker. He has no visible kibble on any part of him. He is super well articulated and can pull off the most dynamic poses. And if you have an included stand, which I do not, you might be able to get him into even cooler poses with him flying up in the air, firing on the Autobots. Is just a very minor retool of the Starscream mold, that being this little cone that they added. The cone does not actually affect anything in the transformation, it's only in his robot mode, which just limit his head posability a little. But besides that, he is basically a copy of Starscream. Overall, his robot mode is really nice and clean. He's really well articulated and fairly well painted, along with some sculpted in details on his forearm, his thighs, and his really nice head. The same head as Blitzwing. And in terms of a backpack, it's almost none at all. So I'd say this is pretty movie accurate to what we see in Bumblebee. Included with Thrust is these two ray gun things. I forgot what they're called in the show, that attach to his wing, along with this blaster. But I find that it doesn't peg into his hand very well. It's a bit of a pain to get in, and once it's in, it's actually slanted at a bit of an angle, so it doesn't look very nice. One trick I've liked to do is to actually put his hand in there and attach it underneath, so it looks like it's coming out of his hand. But the only downside is that it falls off really easily. So overall nice, just wish that his wrist was a bit more sturdy and not so flimsy. That could just be a problem with my copy. In terms of articulation, he's pretty well articulated. His shoulder can rotate 360. His arms can move in and out. He has a bicep rotation and an elbow joint. His wrists do move back and forth, but that's more for transformation. And I do wish they filled in this gap here. He can do a full split. He has a thigh rotation. His knee bend is 90 degrees, a bit more than 90 degrees. And he has a crazy ankle bend. He also does have a waist rotation, but it's really limited due to the wings on the back and this little codpiece. So you can't get him to twist a bit, but he's not really going anywhere. In terms of articulation for his head, it's pretty limited due to that cone. So his head can move side to side a little bit, but not as much as compared to Starscream, for example. His head can move up a little and does not move down at all. So for his transformation, the first thing you're gonna wanna do is flip his wrist into his forearm and rotate his arm so that his wrist is facing upwards. And do the same on the other side. Now onto his legs. You're gonna wanna fold this out, and then you're gonna put your finger in here and just take out this whole wing section out from inside his leg. And just push this to the side. Now you're gonna wanna make sure his feet are straight and just push it in there. Careful not to chip the paint though. And once this is out here, fold his leg in and just take everything out. There might be a bit of clearance issues here, but not too big of a problem to solve. And I like how they actually covered up this gap with this piece. Now do the same on the other side. After you're done with that, you're going to want to push this piece down and then try and slide these two things over his cod piece and just tab both of these legs together. This forms the back of his tetrajet mode. And now moving on to the back, gonna take this whole top section here, just open it up and pull out the front of the cockpit out from the inside. And now this whole assembly just folds backwards, and then you wanna take this out and tab it in here. This might be a bit of a struggle. There we go. You're gonna push these two things in and fold these two together and just tab it in there and then fold this down. Next, what you want to do is take his head section and just fold it up so that it goes tucks into the inside of the plane. And then with his two wings, you're going to want to push this section in here and then fold this round, untab this, and fold this back round. So that forms the wing. And then you're going to just want to push this down so that it's slanted downwards. And do the same on the other side. Okay, then you're going to want to tap his whole upper body section here into his legs. So you're just going to press these two together. You're going to hear quite a few sounds, but it's all okay. Then, oops, get this out of the way. You're going to want to make sure his hands are facing downwards. I find it helps to actually move these wings up first, so there's space for the arms down here. So you'll notice there's a hinge here. What actually happens is his entire shoulder actually untabs and folds out. This might take a bit of force. There we go. And you're just going to want to fold it about halfway here and do the other side. You're just going to want to pry these open. And now it will look like this. So you're going to actually squeeze these two shoulders so that the vents are facing in front here. And then you're just going to have these two arms, bend it, and just fold it into here. And then fold the wings down. But the jet isn't done yet. We're going to take his blaster from earlier. Complete his look. We're going to tab it into this section here. And then you're going to take these two small little sections here and tab it into here. So this might take a bit of adjusting just to get it to fit right. Don't try and force anything because those tabs are pretty small and might be prone to breaking. You're just gonna push these together and then take his two ray cannons from earlier, and instead of putting it in from circular port, you're gonna tab it into the wings through the rectangular port, which is about here. And same for the other side. And here we have his jet mode in all its glory. Personally, I feel that this jet mode is one of the most accurate seeker modes that I've seen. You don't really see much of the kibble at all. The only really visible bit of kibble on the robot is his two arms here, but you don't even see it because it's at the underside of the jet. Besides that, I think they incorporated a lot of the robot parts into the jet very well, and it looks really accurate to what little we saw in the movie. And I can't praise the engineering enough. It's quite amazing because in the jet mode you don't really notice that the legs are actually on top of here. this is his upper body, then this is where the head would have been. This is actually his torso. So you can't even tell which part of the transformer it is if only if you like really look closely. Aside from accuracy, there are some really nice molded in details, especially like along the side of the cockpit, on the wings, along that nice Decepticon logo on both sides, and even the thrusters at the back. I don't know if you can really see, but they've even sculpted in the exhaust in there, which is really, really nice. Overall, as a Transformers figure, I think he's basically one of my favorites, although I have a few gripes with him, mainly being his head not being able to move around very well, but they couldn't really do much about it due to his design in the movie. But I have to say, this might be one of my favorite Seeker designs of all time. His bright green really complements the dark silver and whitish plastic along him. But yeah, he's one of my favorite figures that I have in my collection right now, and I highly recommend you getting him. I'd give him a solid 9 out of 10. And that is it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you stay tuned for my next review. Please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.